I'm Natalie, and today I'm going to share with you a Tex-Mex favorite. This is one of our game day go-tos that we love to make, and it is Tex-Mex Queso. And this one is gonna come fully loaded with beef picadillo, as guac, pico, delicious, and the best part of all is we're making it with all from scratch ingredients, so no super processed cheeses, no crock pot required. So let's get started. First up, we are going to make our beef picadillo. So I've got my cast iron skillet here. I've got a pound of grass-fed beef, and we are going to brown it. And then we're gonna get started with the seasoning. So first off, let's just get this nice and cooked through. I like to add a little bit of salt while I brown the meat. It just adds some extra flavor. The great thing about using grass-fed or a leaner cut beef for this is that you won't need to drain it, and you don't have to worry about the flavor because we're gonna add all of that in with our spices in the queso later. So use the leanest beef or grass-fed if you can find it. Okay, now got our beef all nice and ground. So the next thing we're gonna do is add in our spices and make a little bit of a picadillo. So here I have salt, chili powder, cumin, and just a little bit of coriander. I love the citrusy flavor and the brightness that coriander brings to this. So I'm just gonna toss these in. To make sure this all gets mixed really well, I'm gonna use about half a cup of water, and I'm just gonna pour this in. And this is just gonna kind of help us mix and coat the beef. We're gonna cook it until it all evaporates, and all we're left with is all of that flavor. So you can see this has made a little bit of a sauce. What we're gonna do is we're gonna keep this on high, and we're just gonna cook until all of this sauce has been incorporated to the meat. So this will probably take about 3 minutes or so. So we are just going to kill the heat, and I'm gonna put this in another bowl and set it aside for now. Now we're just gonna set our beef aside, and we're gonna get started on the queso. Okay, so now we're gonna take our pan back to medium heat. It should all still be hot. We're gonna use the same pan. You don't even need to wipe it out. First off, let's start by adding 3 tablespoons of butter. And it should melt pretty quickly because our pan is already so hot. And we are going to add 3 cloves of garlic, which I've already kind of chopped up here so that they'll fit nicely in my garlic press. One of my best tips when you're cooking stuff like this is to have all your ingredients ready to go, so that way you don't waste time and nothing burns, because everything you need is right at hand. We're just sauteing this garlic and butter, getting it all nice and delicious. Next up, I have 1 medium-sized white onion, and we are going to add that in. I love using the same pan because it gets so much of the flavor that's left over from the beef and just adds more flavor to your queso or whatever you're cooking. Because your cast iron's already so hot, this should cook, a little bit quicker than usual. So be sure to keep an eye on it. Should also be smelling really, really good right about now. Now our onions are about halfway through being cooked. So next I'm going to add in my peppers. So this can be a total, depending on how much you like spice thing. So I have 1 serrano and 1 jalapeno chopped up in here. Seeds and everything. We like it a little bit spicy, so I'm gonna add all of this. If you prefer it more mild, maybe just do 1 seeded, take the seeds out of the jalapeno. I also have a poblano, which isn't really super spicy. This is just more for flavor. If you're curious, this is what a poblano pepper looks like at the store when it's whole. And I chopped this up. I took out the seeds and the ribs because it's kind of like a bell pepper where it's not gonna hurt you if you eat them, but they don't really add anything either. So go ahead and add in 1 poblano pepper. And we're just gonna saute these until they soften, so probably 2 to 3 minutes over medium heat. While your peppers are softening, make sure you prep your other ingredients. So we have 4 cups of shredded cheese here. I did a mix of sharp cheddar and Colby Jack. You can do all sharp cheddar, you can do all Colby Jack. I really like the mix of the two. So 4 cups, 2 Colby Jack, 2 of sharp cheddar. I have a cup of whole milk and 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and this is going to make our queso cheese sauce. So have those ready. You can also prep all of your toppings, so if you want to use pico de gallo or guacamole, or you want to top with more spicy peppers, make sure you get those ready to go as well. We want those poblano peppers to soften almost to the same texture as the onions. We don't want them to really be crispy or have any like crunch to them. So depending on the actual pepper you pick out, it could take a little bit longer to saute, but just make sure that they get nice and soft before you move to the next step. Okay, my peppers are nice and soft now, so we're ready to go to the next part, which is to add in your flour, and we're gonna start making the roux. I added a little extra flour into here in case I need to thicken it up later, but you want to use about 2 tablespoons to start of all-purpose flour. Stir that in. Should kind of start to dry everything up. As you can see here, get a little pasty. A little bit more in my opinion, so I'm going to add a little bit more. You kind of see here it's starting to thicken everything up. Perfect. Now I'm going to tell you to move your heat down to low. You don't want to curdle the milk or the cheese. So, next up, we're going to add about half of the milk. Now start adding in the cheese, handfuls at a time, stirring it and incorporating it until it melts, and then continue to doing the same thing, kind of repeating this pattern until you've added all the cheese and all the milk. Stir this. Now our queso is really starting to come together and look something more like a queso. And this is definitely a loaded queso. So we've got lots of peppers, lots of onions and flavor. This is the way I love my queso. So if you want something a little more simple, you can just cut back on the peppers. The base recipe will still totally work for you. Okay, I'm gonna add in the rest of my cheese. If your queso is looking a little too thick, you can always add a little bit more milk to thin it out. Okay, now we've gotten everything melted all together. We've got this super creamy, stretchy, delicious Tex-Mex queso filled with peppers and onions. You can see this is just what we're looking for. Now our queso's done. We've got our chips and all of our toppings. We're just gonna finish loading it and then it'll be ready to go. Okay, first, start off with the beef picadillo. And you can add as much as you like. I like to just add about like half of this. You can always add more later. And then we have some pico de gallo, which just adds tons and tons of flavor. It's one of my personal favorite condiments. And then a big scoop of guac. And that is kind of like the most delicious trifecta. Now we've got our loaded queso and you are ready to go for game day. I hope you enjoy it.